Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jacquet.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim Jacquet, your host. Today we have a Cowboy pastor who's going to be on the show in a moment. Before we begin with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break and listen to some words from our sponsor, and we'll be back in a moment with the show.
You're listening to the Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed, with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to the Core. Once again, here's Tim Jacquet.
Welcome back with the show. I'm Tim Jacquet, your host. I guess to begin with, Doug, you're on the line?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, welcome to the program. I really appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Not a problem.
I guess to begin with, kind of tell us about yourself, where you're from, and how you got started.
Well, I currently reside in Anchorage, Alaska. We've been here for about 20 years, so this was kind of home for me.
Wow.
Grew up in Southern California, but like I said, I've been here for the past 20 years, and so this is definitely home. Getting started in country music, that's been singing my whole life. I sang first solo when I was in church at 2 years old, and singing ever since. And country has just always been a part of my life. That's the type of music I grew up listening to, and all my friends were into more of the rock music and whatnot. But I was into country. Listened to Larry Gatlin Brothers, Kenny Rogers, Lee Greenwood, and Alabama, and some of those groups growing up. And so I've just always been into country, and have always sang. Most all of my singing has always been in churches and leading worship and doing those things. And it's been just been kind of preparing me, I think, and to sing outside and do what I'm doing now.
Wow. So what a transition from as a country artist. Now you're a pastor?
That's correct. Yep. I pastor the Cowboy Church of Anchorage here in Anchorage, and so I do pastor there as well as help lead the music in services as well.
Well, tell us about the Cowboy Church itself there.
Okay. Well, the Cowboy Church, we are a Southern Baptist church, and it's really a come-as-you-are church. There's not a lot of frills or you don't have to dress up or anything to come. Jeans, hats, boots, just fine. You can come on in and join us. It really is a come-as-you-are type of a church where we don't put on a lot of airs. I also don't use a lot of big words within the messages, and try to keep things very simple. And I think too many times we as pastors and in church, we get so full of ourselves and caught up in tradition and caught up in, well, we have never done it this way. And we've got to use these big words to impress people. I think we're kind of fooling ourselves. We're playing more of a game. And Cowboy Church gets back to really just what church I think is really supposed to be about. It's touching people right where they live.
How did you get called into ministry? We always have our aha moment or epiphany moment or our calling moment of being ministers in the church. How did that happen with you?
I was a sophomore in high school. Whenever I was at a youth camp. It was after my sophomore year in high school. I was at a youth camp in Big Bear, California, And it was at that youth camp that I really felt the calling to go into ministry. And it was from that time, it was, I guess it was between my junior and senior year, and it was at a youth camp up in Big Bear, California.
Wow. So between that particular experience, what was it like with you personally, if you can kind of draw us in for that particular moment?
It was just a time of clarity. I guess more than anything else, I knew that that's what it was supposed to. I knew that's what I was going to do. It was just really a time of clarity. There wasn't any confusion about it. There wasn't any, bright lights or flashing sirens or anything. But it was just really a moment of clarity that's where I needed to go and what I needed to do. I went and visited then a Christian college here in California, which is where I ended up going to college, Pacific Coast Baptist Bible College. Mm-hmm. And I studied music there and was a music major. For us, it's, God has always done that within our lives. He's given us just a real sense of clarity about where we're going and what we're doing.
Tell us about your style of music. There's different layers of country music. Tell us about your particular style itself.
I tell people all the time it's positive country. That I sing positive country music. I want my faith is certainly a huge part of who I am, and so you're not going to hear me singing about getting drunk in the bars and going out and cheating on anyone and those type of things. That's just not what you're going to hear. It's positive, real positive country music. Even the fun song on the CD, "The Man My Dog Thinks I Am." I want to be that man that my dog looks at me and just loves all the time. The voices, Chris Young cover I did on there, voices, I hear those voices all the time. My grandfather, my grandparents and my dad, my uncle, my mom and everyone, I hear those voices all the time, kind of guiding and directing me in my life. And so those type of things. And so it's a lot of, I try to do what I classify is positive country. I would say, more of a Nashville type of a sound than a Bakersfield or Texas sound. I think it's more of a Nashville sound, but the music itself, I would say, is positive country.
Wow. So how your music comes to you? Does it come in the middle of the night or during the day, or it comes like a thought?
Oh, I am not a writer. So the music that's on the CD there, I was able to find through the Independent Country Musicians Network. Mm-hmm. And that's how I found, as well as Michael Stover with MTS Management. But I was able to find a fantastic writer in Pat Kelly. There were several other writers that I talked with and everything else there, but just really fell in love with Pat Kelly's music. And so for me, it's really a labor trying to find the right songs. I did. I listened to well over 300 songs. Wow. In selecting the songs that are on that CD, to get to 10 songs. And it was really an artist project. I mean, it really was that was the hardest part of the CD for me, is selecting the music.
Selecting music, I can imagine. We're going to play one of your tracks real quick. Let's try, okay. You mentioned voices. So let's go ahead and just segue into voices, and we'll be back again with Doug Briney. Uh-huh. Okay, we're back with the show. So tell us how this particular piece came about when you were thinking of selecting this one. What intrigued you with it? Was the lyrics, or was it the music, or was it a combination of the whole piece?
It was really a combination of the two, but the lyrics certainly jumped out at me. The melody of the song as well, but it really was a combination of the two. Talk about influences in music, and certainly, Chris Young is one that I really enjoy his music and listen to a lot of what he does. He's definitely an influence, but it was a combination of all the above. It was that influence. It was loving the lyrics, having those things ring true in my life. Like I said, I do hear those voices. I do hear those types of things going on. In my mind all the time whenever I try to make the decision. So, what would Dad think? What would Mom say about this? And how would how would they handle these things and the choices that I've got to make, and so it really is a combination of all those things.
How, being in Anchorage, Alaska, is a beautiful town. It's kind of a mixture of a city. It's the West, but how does that environment play a part? Because Anchorage has its own way of doing things. I mean, I've visited there several times, and during this time of the year, you don't have complete darkness. Then in the fall, then the sun doesn't come up until 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's at 3 o'clock it's pitch black again.
Right.
That can put different moods on a person. How can, as an artist, as a singer, how can that play a part of one thing about the Anchorage culture and also the environment itself?
Anchorage itself, you're right. It's city, but it's still rugged. It's still part of Alaska, and it's very unpredictable. Weather changes constantly. I've had plans all this week to do some work outside, and got thwarted yesterday. Just I went to get everything started, got all the tools put together and everything else, and then it started raining on me, so I wasn't able to do that because it's kind of tough to put up paint in the rain. So it's the unpredictability of it, the weather unpredictability, the ruggedness of it. We're still a part of Alaska, even though we are in a more of a city here in Anchorage. The weather just you just kind of go along with it. There's not a lot to you find yourself, you're not in control of it, so there's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, it's the same thing as folks that have the heat, and the 115, 116 degrees weather. What do? Well, you continue on. You have to do. There's certain things that you have to do. You might not choose to cut the grass, when it's 117 degrees, and might decide to do that early in the morning or late at night. So you make those adjustments that you need to do. The darkness and whatnot, I tell folks all the time, you're either going to love it here in Alaska or you're going to hate it. There is no real middle ground. There really isn't. And a big part of loving it is enjoying it. If you put yourself in your house and it's cold outside because it's dark outside, you put yourself in the house and you don't get out and enjoy the few hours of daylight that there are, by finding a hobby that you enjoy, whether it's going to the mall and going shopping, whether it's which is not my hobby, by the way, or whether it's snow machining, getting out skiing, getting out just hiking, maybe mountain biking. They sell the bikes, the big fat tires to ride through snow and everything else. Whatever it is, if you can get out and then do something and enjoy it every day, and something that you can't do in the summer, you'll find yourself enjoying it a lot more. Particularly, I love the snow machine. I enjoy snow machining. I enjoy getting out and going up to the cabin. We have a cabin that's about 100 miles north of Anchorage. I enjoy getting out and going up there with the family and doing that and relaxing and just being outside. And it doesn't matter if it's dark or light, you're outside and you're enjoying it. So that's kind of a draw for me.
Wow.
I don't enjoy shoveling snow anymore. I've kind of gotten past the shoveling snow thing, but that's a part of it as well.
Yeah, musically, it will bring a different element. Like for example, Denver will bring a different element of music of the Great American West, and how the music and the style of music there is, then versus being in the dead heat of the South. When it's hot, you're going to write some songs that are really going to speak of the weather and everything else. It kind of aggravated, but however, Western U.S. is totally different. It's open. It has clarity. It's clear. And I had a friend who was a principal in Alaska. She said her husband moved her up there. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I cried for 6 months." But I lived here. He passed away, and I lived here until retirement, which is 20 years later as a principal. And she moved back to Texas later, to be closer to her family. her daughter was out of school, and she went through, got her daughter through graduate school, and that's all she can do. And she she got tired of shoveling snow as well. But she got married and she moved back to the city outside of Houston and back to her hometown. But in your music itself, you had a couple of reviews. Press close. Doug is passionate with his vocal delivery. What a great song. Is off to the great start, more than just a form. So the next track I'm going to play is the More. Tell us about this More piece when you select it and the story
Sure,
behind
more
it.
more than just a farm is again that Pat Kelly and Ed Levitt wrote this one, and again, this is one of those songs. The moment that I heard it, I related to the song. When I was 13 years old, I grew up in Southern California in Orange County, and when I was 13 years old, I got to go spend the summer with my grandfather. We had a small farm in South Central Illinois, little tiny town called Bolivar, Illinois. I think if you counted the pets, the population might have been about 50. But I got to spend that summer with him, and I learned an awful lot. And so this song just really reminded me of my grandfather and his farm. And I went there that summer thinking I knew a lot. 13-year-old boy, you know everything, right? And I got there, and the first thing that I learned is that I didn't sleep in every morning. Grandma was at the foot of my bed about between 4:30 and 5 every morning, waking me up. And first morning, it was quite the rude awakening. It was quite scary. But then I was out helped my grandfather milk the cows, collecting eggs. We butchered hogs. We butchered, rabbits and chickens and everything else. And, all the things that farm life entailed. And I spent that summer doing that. I learned to drive a tractor backwards and with a trailer and how to do all that. And, all those things. And so it was a real learning time for me, and it's one of the most positive summers that I can remember in my life. That I just had a great time. Everything was an adventure that year, and I think that's a big part of the song. It's growing up, and as a result, this in the song, the gentleman that grows up there, he. It's more than just. It becomes much more than just a farm. It's more than just a place. It's all his memories are tied up there, and who he is comes from that hard work out of that farm. And that, there again, it invoked those memories of me whenever I was 13 years old, going and spending that summer with my grandfather. And it's just one that I fell in love with.
Wow. Who are the people, I know you mentioned in the past, who influenced your style of music? Kind of tell us the people your greatest influencers of music that you listened to in the past, who you have in your iPod now, who did you listen to on your LP back when you were growing up?
Growing up, my dad listened to a lot of Eddie Arnold. So
wow.
Eddie Arnold,
I haven't heard that
Tom T. Hall. Yeah, Eddie Arnold and Tom T. Hall. He had a lot of that. I grew up. I think the first album that I ever bought was a Kenny Rogers album. The first concert that I ever went to was at Knott's Berry Farm in California there, and Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers were there. I think it was right before they really kind of hit it big, and I was sitting about the third row, and one of the gentlemen up on the stage lost his guitar pick. He couldn't find it anywhere. He dropped it and couldn't find it, and shouted out to the audience, anyone have a guitar pick? Well, I was sitting about third row, and I had a guitar pick. He finished out that concert with my guitar pick, which, really was funny, because I don't know why I had the guitar pick with me. I just carried it to be cool, I guess, because I really didn't play guitar at that time. But he finished it out. So, Larry Gatlin and Gatlin brothers, I loved Alabama. I used to, drive around it whenever I got in my teenage years. I used to drive around with Alabama, on the old 8-track player in my truck, in my car, and had an 8-track player, and I had Alabama in there, and play me some mountain music, the old 8-track changeovers and whatnot, and so those are the influences, of the past. Modern, like I said, Chris Young is a huge influence. I really enjoy Chris Young's music. I really enjoy Ronnie Dunn, Toby Keith, are some big influences. Those are folks that I listen to now. But I try to have a pretty wide variety of folks that I listen to. Toby Keith, Ronnie Dunn, Chris Young, Trace Atkins, those would be the ones that I think are probably the bigger influences in my music.
And who do you normally listen to?
Vince Gill as well.
Vince Gill. Okay.
Well. I love listening to Vince Gill.
Yeah,
how can you not enjoy listening to Vince? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I heard some styles. We're gonna go ahead and play another track that you have here. I don't think we've done It's Country.
Oh, it's all country? Yeah.
Okay, great. We're gonna go ahead and play that one and be back in one moment. It's Country. Wow, it's a powerful piece. Really like that one. If there was a song that kind of speaks to who you are out of your music, kind of tell us about that song.
Oh, it really would be a toss up. The two Chris Young songs that are on there, the voices is one, but I'd say probably The Man I Want to Be would be the one that would really define who I am as a person. Trying to be better. I'm doing. I make mistakes. I make mistakes in the relationship with my wife, my family, with God. I make mistakes, but I keep trying to and I keep working on it. And so I would say probably The Man I Want to Be it would be the closest to who I am on that.
Tell us some of the lyrics of it, if you know it offhand. Tell us the story.
The story behind it is really, where I have failed. And yet I'm coming to God. I'm down here on my knees. It's the best place that I know to be, to get the help. And help me be the man that I want to be, that I can look in the mirror and I can be proud of that person, and that I'm not ashamed to look in the mirror any longer. And help me be the person that my wife needs in our relationship, and help me be the dad that my kids need. And so it's just really it's a prayer. The song is really a prayer to God, and it comes out of desperation. God, I'm down here on my knees, and I'm begging for your help. And it's really, I can't, all these books on self-help and everything else, they're nice, but real change doesn't come on my own. Real change happens because I make a decision, and then I get help in reshaping me. I mean, and God is the one who gives me that help, and that's really what the song is about.
Tell us where you'd like to be, remember 100 years from now.
I've mentioned this before. I want my tombstone, kind of a weird thing. I'd like my tombstone to say something, here lies a man that loved his family, loved his God, and loved his country.
Wow.
And I think that sums it up. I want to be remembered as someone who loved God, loved my family, and loved my country. And if I can be remembered that way, I think I've done some good things. That's how I want to be remembered. Music is a tool which I can express the love for my family, I can express the love for my God, and I can express the love for my country. And so the music is a great tool to be able to do that. So if I'm remembered through my music as being that kind of a person, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Wow. In closing, any last comments you'd like to say?
I just appreciate the opportunity to be on with you, and want to invite folks out. I'm getting ready July 22nd. I'm leaving Alaska on a motorcycle and riding down to California, doing some impromptu concerts along the way, and be performing down in Orange County at Ruby's of Orange, and inviting friends and family to come on out and just have a great time with that. And so appreciate folks listening to the music, and I really do. And the nominations I've received and different things, they really are humbling, and I thank everybody for those things and for enjoying the music, and I hope that they'll continue to enjoy it. And if they want to learn more about my music, they can go to my website, DougBriney.com, DougBriney.com, and there's links to our Facebook, Twitter, Reverb Nation. There's all the links are up there. They can also purchase music directly from the website there. If they purchase a hard CD, I sign it and send it to them. And if they want it personalized, I'll do that as well. They can also, the direct links to iTunes and everything is there that they can digitally download it. So head on over to DougBriney.com and do that. And just be watching for me if you live anywhere on the West Coast, from Canada down through, from Alaska down through Canada all the way down in California there. Be watching for me.
And your website for your church is cbcanchorage.org?
That is it. Yes.
That's it.
Anchorage.org.
Okay, I have to ask this. Now, you're going to leave Anchorage, Alaska, and you're going to drive on a motorcycle all the way through Canada, through the West Coast, down to California?
Correct. And then back again. I'm spending about 5 days down there in Orange County, and then I'll be turning around and riding back.
It's kind of cold. I guess you're going to go into a warmer climate, but wow. How long is that ride?
It's the round trip ride is right around 7,000 miles.
Wow. And how long will it take to get there? About 4 days?
I'm planning about 5 days to get down. That's doing about 12 hours a day on the bike. So it's going to be a pretty aggressive ride down. On the way home, I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to take my time coming home, about 8 days coming home, 7-8 days coming home, and I'm going to go up the coast. But we're stopping along the way, doing several little concerts, and just going to have a lot of fun with it.
Wow. So you could travel in a group. You won't be by yourself.
No, I will be by myself.
Oh,
yeah, I will be by myself, and I've built a small little teardrop trailer, full behind the motorcycle, and that's where I'll sleep when I get tired. I'm just going to pull over and take a nap, and I run into really, really, really bad weather. That'll be kind of a shelter, and that I don't have to set up and take down all the time as far as the tent. But yeah, we're calling it the Let's Get Riding Tour, and it comes from one of the songs that's on the CD. It's called Let's Get Riding. It's about motorcycles and just having fun and getting out and needing some time alone and do that. So
okay,
yeah.
Well,
it's kind of a great way to celebrate the album.
Wow. Well, that's really amazing. Lastly, I guess if you can just close with a prayer or something, since you're a pastor. We've never done this before, so if we can go exit with a prayer, if you don't mind, and we're going to pray for you as you go through your journey safely to your venues and come back safely home to your congregation.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Father, we thank you for the time that we can come and to share a little bit about life, about music, and what's going on in our lives here, Lord. I thank you for the opportunity, and Lord, we just pray that you would keep us safe as we're all doing different things today, wherever we're at, that you would watch over us, keep us safe. Lord, I want to pray a special prayer over our military and wherever they're at, and that as they're serving our country and intentionally putting themselves in harm's way for us, Lord, we just pray that you keep them safe today and let them know that we as a nation love and support them. And so, Father, we thank you for that. Lord, I pray for safety on this trip. We're getting ready to take down to California and back. Lord, the preparation that's gone into this already, I thank you for that and the opportunity. Lord, we just give this time to you and say thank you, and we love you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you again, Pastor, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future, and have safe travels to your venue.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Take care. Same here. Bye-bye. Again, this is another production of the Core Business Show with Tim J.K. You can download this on iTunes or Blog Talk Radio. Everybody, thank you for listening. Take care, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim J.K. For a free quote on equipment leasing and financing, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. And fill out the information to receive your free quote. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the Core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. Thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim J.K.